The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
TV party tonight! What? TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated to our favorite shows!
Oh, my circuits! Everybody loves Hypnotoad! Scary Dog! Pearson at Blurnsville!
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premier podcast, TV Party Tonight. I am your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight we conclude a look at our favorite show, Sons of Anarchy, Season 7. And of course, he has joined me for every single episode of this and will continue to join me for every single episode of Television More that we discuss. Ladies and gentlemen, the engineer, the Paul McCartney to my John Lennon, the Stiznarky. He runs on diesel power, apparently.
He said engineer. All I could think of was choo-choo train.
Okay,
So,
I meant
yeah.
like studio engineer.
Oh, studio engineer. Okay, well, I'll take
You
that.
AI songwriting genius, you.
Sure, I'll take it.
Jesse Starcher, how do you do, sir?
Doing great, Mark. It's the 7th season of Sons of Anarchy. The 7th son of the 7th. No, that's not how that goes. Yeah, man, we are here to ending discussion on 7 seasons of Sons of Anarchy. My wife could not have been happier that you chose this series to discuss. And I think she's a little upset we're not going to be discussing it anymore.
I mean, they only made 7 episodes. Though, can I tell you? So I used to date this girl named Angel, and she's like every other girl I've ever met. She had one show that ever in the history of her life that she ever liked, and it's so mean. No, she. I remember her big thing was Sons of Anarchy, and she was like, I would tell her about The Wire and about The Shield and Justified and all these other shows. And she was like, have you ever watched Sons of Anarchy? And I said no. And for the reasons that we discussed when we first started talking about this, 6 episodes ago, I was not interested in watching a show where the bad guys win. This is what kept me from watching Breaking Bad for the longest time. It was a very similar thing because it was that same sort of push-pull with people who were TV aficionados. It's also why I didn't watch The Sopranos. Mm-hmm. Which someday we'll get to, because apparently, Sopranos was part of peak TV, and at this point, that's kind of what we're doing here. But I don't like to necessarily watch shows where you root for the bad guy. And so I like The Shield, even though Vic Mackey was a scumbag, but he was also a cop scumbag. Mm-hmm. McNulty was a scumbag, but he was a cop scumbag.
Right.
Justified. I can't remember the name of the character, but he's justified, but he was a lawman. I wanted these people to win. I wanted them to succeed. And so shows about a meth dealing cancer patient, or a Italian mob family, or an outlaw motorcycle gang didn't really appeal to me, so I didn't watch. Sure. But then Angel was like, no, you should watch. It was like my favorite show. This show is awesome. And I'm like, whatever. Then Ronnie was like, we should get the band together. And I really like Sons of Anarchy. And I'm like, everyone and their mother and this other girl that I, was trying to date was like, I should watch this show. Maybe I should start listening to people.
Don't make a habit of it.
Yeah. And so here we are, 7 seasons later. And I'm not unhappy I watched Sons of Anarchy. We talked about this when we did episodes 3 and 4 together. That I the show kind of hooked me after season 3, and season 4 was so good that I was, like, I'm down to finish this.
You're right.
I'm down for the ride. So at the end of season 6, when Gemma kills Tara and then Juice kills Sheriff Eli, and and Jax is arrested for the alleged murder of his wife, and we see him just distraught and crying over her body and all of that. I was really curious to see how this was all going to end. I was also very much waiting for this to be over.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I could have lived with just 6 seasons of this. But because of the way they ended it, they had to do a 7th.
I was going to say, there's no way you could leave it like the way that.
No, you couldn't leave it that way.
No.
But if they had written it slightly differently, I would have been okay with no more seasons of this. Oh, the point that I was actually trying to get to was I said to, look, contrary to the people I record with and popular opinion, when I'm wrong, I'll admit it.
Okay.
I argued with people like, oh, no, Sons of Anarchy is bullshit. I don't want to watch this. And it was like, I ended up watching it. We're going to talk about the last season now. And I very much enjoyed it. And I was happy to do it. And I tell her that. I publicly told her this. I put it on Facebook. I said, hey, Angel. That's her name, not her nickname. The pretty girl. Said, hey, Angel, you were right. I was wrong. Sons of Anarchy is pretty good. I'm glad I watched it. She's like, in a typical girl. Now watch Mayans.
Oh, no.
Not watching fucking Mayans.
Oh, boy.
I'm fucking done with this. We're moving on to something else. If I end up watching that, it's certainly not going to be to review with you. I will just watch it in my spare time. That was, I'll tell you, and I want to get your opinion on this before we actually get into the show. With the David Simon stuff, with The Boys, with Orville, with Black Mirror, you and I always had something to talk about that was beyond the show itself. Mm-hmm. It was, the use of technologies, moral ambiguities, PTSD, mental health, trauma. Okay, that's the same thing. Politics. With everything that you and I talked about, whether we were there with somebody else or not, we could always dig a little deeper and really pull something out of it. Obviously, like I said, all the David Simon stuff. I feel like this is the first time me and you have just talked about something that was purely entertaining and there wasn't a whole lot to pull out of it, which made this series of reviews with you a level of difficulty that I hadn't experienced before.
Okay. All
right. But then I say that, and then I forget of the 87,000 other reviews that we did that were complete bullshit. Because for every Doom Patrol, there was a Titans.
Right.
For every, Christ almighty, we've done Krypton. That was just soapy good fun, right?
I remember we did 2. Was there 2 seasons of that?
2 seasons of Krypton.
Pennyworth.
That was the next one I was going to say. Like, for every Legion.
Yeah.
Right. There was, and even Legion, there wasn't anything going on. Like, that was such an ethereal show. Huh?
Visually, it was impactful.
Yeah, it was an ethereal, very aesthetic forward show, but there wasn't anything like going on beneath that. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I'm just wondering. I forget that we did a lot of that stuff together. And not all of it was, not all of it was intellectual. A lot of it was entertaining. But I think also for years I was pushing that envelope just because it was like, well, we got another comic show we got to review. Like, fuck, oh god, what was that one Netflix show? That we literally did because it was a comic book adaptation, and I was just for a while crazy about doing comic book adaptations.
There's a lot you could say there.
Yeah, it was very dark and gothic looking, kind of silly. We did like maybe 1 volume of the comic, and then we did the 1 season of the show, and then it got canceled.
Well, you're not talking about Lock and Key.
No, that was me and Robert. That was his Cross the Bear.
Right. I do not remember. I mean, I can remember a few that we jumped and did, like I don't know if I was part of the old guard or not. I don't think I was. I think I was on essential status at that point, and I think you guys covered that. I'm trying to think of some of the other Netflix stuff that we did.
I'm looking it up now, but just what's your thought on like this show versus some of the other stuff that we've reviewed?
Okay, well,
like how was your experience reviewing this?
You got to think about the experience that we are actually involved in right now, where we are actually taking seasons, I should say series, and we started with all the David Simon stuff, which had a lot to say, reflected reality quite well, and while there was a lot of drama, it wasn't soapy drama.
Right.
So when you're coming from that
Wu-Tang and American Saga, boy, that had a lot. We had a lot going on there.
That was some good stuff. But yeah, you're kind of going to this here. We did 7 seasons of this, and it's
hang on. You made me do Ozark, but even
Ozark
then, even though that was soapy drama, there was still a lot to talk about with those shows.
Oh yeah. So yeah, as far as this compared to what the other stuff that we've done, I think that this season specifically is the first time where I've sat down and come up with something like, okay, this is what this series and this season was about. It took us a long time to get here, but now I think I realize what they were possibly trying to say. There's like this small through line throughout every single one of these episodes, but there's a lot of violence and fluff all around it.
By the way, it was October Faction.
Oh wow, yeah, okay. I was part of that. I remember reading. I remember. I think I remember a little bit of the comic book too. Man, oh man.
No, fuck you. Hang on. Did
I feel like first off, it's very well possible I was part of it and don't remember, because as we were determined yesterday when we were going through the history of On Trial, there were episodes where I was like, oh, I was on that? I was on that? That
fucking tells you we've done way too much of this. And yes, you were absolutely on that episode.
Okay, all right. I barely remember what October Faction was about, other than it was just like you said, it was kind of creepy, and there was some. But anyway, so yeah, this is definitely different. It doesn't have something to say every single episode.
No,
it has a lot of like, okay, what is this family going to have to go through now? And like I said, I think finally at the end, when we hit the end, and I thought about what is this series about, I've come up with an idea, and we'll talk about that here later. But yeah, I mean, as far as enjoyment goes, I enjoyed myself. I had a good time watching all 7 seasons. I had a good time watching these villains get worse and worse that were, compared to the Motorcycle Club that were villains in the first place almost. But you watch these antagonists that they go up against, and it's just, they can sometimes turn your stomach with some of the bullshit that they pulled. But yeah,
I think the other interesting thing about this show was because the stars of the show were the bad guys, then the bad guys had to be law enforcement, and you had to find like reasons for the law enforcement to be shitty so that you rooted against them, which again was something I really struggled with this show. But interestingly enough, like first season, you have to deal with Wayne, who's survived right up until the very end, when he finally meets his demise.
My wife said this guy is like the longest stage 4 like cancer victim I've ever seen.
Yeah, he died for a while,
and then the cancer doesn't even kill him.
No, the actual cancer of the show, Jax, killed him.
Oh yeah,
spoilers. Yeah. But you had Unsler, who was corrupt, but but his thing was, I worked with this gang to maintain the peace. I didn't want to tear the city apart, and the motorcycle gang wasn't going anywhere. So, and I think Unsler also, wanted to find a place to belong within this gang without actually being a part of it. There's a reason why he's not 6'5" and looks like Glenn Powell, and instead he's like 5 feet tall and looks like me,
It's about the closest he can get to Gemma too.
Yeah.
He's very much in love with Gemma, and that gets fleshed out, I think, here in this season a good bit.
Got him and Chucky. I feel so bad for the two of them.
Oh, Chucky was absolutely. I love you, Gemma. Now I couldn't tell. It definitely it didn't seem like it was on the level of Unser, but
right.
Chucky definitely respected Gemma enough, and then he felt. I think he loved her definitely as a friend for sure, because I think he says, you're my best friend. You're my only friend. But yeah, man, I feel bad for him too. But yeah, Unser, I think, was just trying to get in his position of power. He was trying to get closer to Gemma, and he would use that to help him.
Right.
But anyway, go ahead.
And then we had Sheriff Eli, and we had what's her face who gets shot by Opie, Stahl.
Oh yeah.
And Stahl was corrupt, and Stahl, everything was justified, means to an end. She was going to take down this motorcycle club, no matter who she hurt, no matter what she did, and then she ended up catching a bullet for it.
Quite a few.
Yeah. Then they bring on Eli, and they have the one district attorney, who's has weird hair and slightly autistic, and they didn't take him the route of Stahl though. No. They kept him above board. He was just kind of merciless. And then in the end, when he loses, he still wins. Like he got the whole the neighborhood thing and Charming upended.
Oh yeah,
because the good guys needed a win today.
Yeah, he was. There are few heroes in this show. Like, I feel like that guy, I wish I could remember his name too. I cannot remember. I was looking for it. But anyway, I feel like he was one of the few heroes that were in this show, where he just needed to get out there and was trying to do something right. Although he's weird about it.
Right. I feel like the writer was like, well, we need it. Like, we don't want to have Stahl every season. That's boring.
Right.
So we need something different here. Like, okay, well, we won't make him horrible. What if we just made him weird? Maybe we just root against him because he's a dork.
Right.
And then Eli was not that bad either. I'm sitting here, like, my whole argument with this is they have to make the law enforcement so awful that you root for the bad guys. And I don't know. I think if Angel were here, I think if I had any one of my friends who watched this show, I was talking to a girl at a party Saturday. Jen threw a party, and one of the guests that was there, I was like, we were talking about television shows, and she was like, I love Sons of Anarchy. Sons of Anarchy is great. Mayans is great. She's talking, and we're going back and forth. And I was saying, this is what I told you. I like shows where I get to root for law enforcement. I don't like the shows where I root for the bad guy. And she was like, I'm the opposite.
She loves the bad guy, huh?
She loves the bad guys, yeah. And I think maybe that might have been what the showrunners, Kurt Sutter and everything were kind of banking on, was we don't necessarily have to make everybody Stahl. We don't have to make all the law enforcement like what's his face from The Shield in the first season, the abusive cop, the tall one,
sure.
the one that does the domestic violence with Tara.
Oh, okay, I got you. All right.
Yeah, we don't. It doesn't need to be him. We'll just rest firmly on the fact that people who watch this show just would like the ne'er-do-well motorcycle club, and have an automatic, not love for law enforcement, and then we don't have to make law enforcement the devil. People will just root against them because everyone hates cops. It's kind of the mentality there. So going forward, they don't make, because other than Donald Logue's character, Oi, which we talked about, you and I don't think Ronnie was on that show. We talked about him. It was just like, he's like tucking his penis and like killing hookers, and it's just all kinds of nonsense.
Right. Yeah. He was unhinged, over the top. Like, you wanted to see this guy get hit.
It's like they tried it for a few seasons, and they were like, no, let's go back to making the cops fucking bizarre animals and see, see how that works. Then they bring in CCH Pounder, and she's all right. Like, she's playing by the rules. She's not losing her fucking mind or anything. throughout the show. And then finally we have this new sheriff, the lieutenant, and she's like kind of new, new gender swapped Unsler. She's gonna have a relationship with Chibs, and she's gonna take the money, and she's just gonna try to smooth things over. And I do enjoy her and Chibs's relationship. First, let me bring in here Ronnie. Ronnie, how you doing?
Speaking of bad guys, that was a perfect entrance for me, and you messed it up. I can't work under these conditions.
Okay, bye.
Oh no, Ronnie,
I'll hang up.
booted.
So I love her
I'll pull a
relationship.
Cheesley right out of here.
Okay, you're gonna eat a salad while you're doing it. Whatever the hell he did. I loved her relationship with Chibs, just because, like, because Chibs even called her out on it. She's like, "We can't do this. No, Chibs. I am law and you are evil, and we can't be together." And he's like, "Make up your fucking mind."
Right.
And then when she confronts him, like, outside the warehouse, and and he's like, "Whatever. I don't care what we're doing. Just stop. Just make up your mind about it already." Like, I don't remember where they fucking landed at the end, but yeah, she wasn't awful either. She actually, my favorite bit of her this entire season was when her and Gemma get in the fucking fist fight in the office.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff.
So Ronnie, we're talking about just kind of chit-chatting about how seasons, over the course of 7 seasons, they kind of played around with how awful or how okay they were going to make law enforcement, depending on who, how to get the audience to root against them. What'd you think this season of the new lieutenant?
She second verse, same as the first, kind of, with Unsler.
Yeah.
And that's where it stopped with me, to be honest with you. I mean, she was good. She filled a role.
Mm-hmm.
The cat fight with Gemma was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't even a cat fight. It was just a straight up boxing match half the time.
I love Nero. Poor Nero, sitting outside. Like, oh my gosh, I can't take this woman anywhere. I cannot. She just.
What are you, some kind of an animal? What's wrong with you?
Stop hitting law enforcement, please.
That's good stuff. All right, let's get into a juicier topic. Juice. Juice finds Gemma, who has killed Tara. He ends up killing Eli, and then Gemma helps him go on the run. But eventually he ends up hooking up with the Mayans, and he's like, "I'll give you intel if you get me to Mexico." And the Mayans are like, "Fuck your couch." So they turn him over to Jackson crew, and Jack says, "Hey, we're gonna have you go to prison, and you're gonna kill Henry Lynn for us." And the whole reason being is Gemma's. I think Gemma and Juice concocted the story that the Chinese killed Tara.
Right.
That's Henry Lynn's group. So this whole season is predicated on this lie that Gemma told Jax, and so Jax basically declares war on the Chinese, which we'll get to it, but it ends so perfectly. It's one of those when Jax realizes what he's done, he just immediately like turns into like the lollipop says sucker on it.
Oh yeah.
Then jackass and all that.
Yeah, he's got the sign.
He's like, "Oh my god, I've done so many bad things."
Just
It's just like, like I can't remember where I got the quote from, but it's just like, "Oh my god, I gave so many blowjobs." It was all for nothing. Anyway, so yeah, Juice ends up going to prison, and then he kills Lynn. He gets the information that they needed, and then at the end of the day, that's they concoct his execution. And Marilyn Manson plays the neo-Nazi in prison that ends up doing it. So I'll go to you first, Jesse. What'd you think of that whole like Juice storyline and Marilyn Manson and all that?
Gosh, you're just wanting Juice to leave. Like, well, let's just put it this way. You're thinking anybody that is in their right mind would be, I need to get out of here. Okay, get me out of here. And he could have left. I don't know how many times, but he stays in is it Wendy's apartment? He's in
Wendy's apartment. Yeah.
Yeah. Ends up killing like the landlord, thinking that it's somebody from the Chinese that's come to get him. And so he's made mistake after mistake after mistake, and he's had his opportunity to just get out of Charming. All you need to do is go away.
Can I ask, did the homicide unit in Charming just fucking quit?
Oh, dude.
Is no one investigating murders anymore?
So season 6.
I'm glad somebody else noticed that.
See, just a comparison here. I don't know if they're doing these by points or what. Maybe they are doing by points somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, on the wiki, 48 kill points according to season 6 on this wiki here. 111 in season 7. So
well, Jackson's final rampage at the end really kicks it up a notch.
Right. We definitely get quite a few, but yeah, Juice ends up, he's just not in his right head. He's not in his right mind. He needs to get out. He needs to leave. But number one, he's dealing with some type of depression. We watched, was it 2 seasons ago? He about tried to kill himself because
he tried to hang himself from a tree with a chain.
Right. And he also loves the motorcycle club. He's scared. He's indebted to kind of Gemma. He's indebted to her a little bit, but as she's trying to get him out of there, but he also has like the goods on her too. Mm-hmm. And when finally push comes to shove and he reveals what happened to Jax, that was some crazy, there were a few very good moments in these last few episodes, and that was one of them where Juice was sitting across the table from Jax and telling him everything that happened, and he knew he was going to die.
Did you ever watch The Shield? Have you seen these?
No, I have not seen The Shield.
Ron, did you watch The Shield?
I watched parts of it. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have Mackie's confession in the last season?
No, I didn't see that. Sorry.
It wasn't quite as good as that. Mackie talking about murdering the detective in episode 1 of season 1 and all the shit that they did, the Armenian money train, him just unfurling himself of all of the horrible things him and the strike team did. Like Michael Chiklis did a really, really good job with that. Juice comes close. Juice sitting there and telling Jax about Gemma and Tara and all this other stuff. I think because he was very focused on just the most recent stuff. Like there isn't this, several years of terrible shit that Juice did that Jax never knew about. He's just talking about the most recent stuff. So it's not quite as impactful, but the actor who plays Juice did a really good job with that scene.
Theo Rossi.
Good actor.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
What'd you think of his final death there at the end, Ronnie? Was that satisfying for you? Did you like the way he went out?
Yeah. I know I'm sorry. I'm a little addled, car trouble and just jumping on here. So, but there's so much death in this show.
True.
It kind of, after a while, you're like, it's like Game of Thrones. After a while, it stops being effective. And while satisfying or whatever, I mean, it's just kind of like at this point, it's expected.
It's interesting point of view. Because I don't want to skip too far ahead, but like when Jax finally goes on the rampage at the end, he it's funny that you say like it wasn't as effective because I'm kind of with you where, he kills Borowski, he kills August Marks, he catches up with Gemma, he ends up killing Unsler, which the only reason why the Unsler one kind of affected me was because I really liked Unsler as a character. I identified with him in a lot of ways.
Right.
Who hasn't chased a pretty girl only to be friend zoned eternally? And him saying like, this is all I have. I threw in with this motorcycle club and I chased this pretty girl for decades. and this is kind of, and kind of protecting her is all I've been reduced to, and he takes a bullet in the fucking head over it.
It's as soon as Jack shot him,
Mm-hmm.
there were other ways that you could have went about this, but I mean, I assume that he was just like, you know what, I am so committed. Jax is so committed to. And granted, he's probably insane with rage as well. He's emotionally tore up, but he could have knocked Unser out. He could have done so many other things because Unser has never been nothing to Jax other than helpful.
No, but you ever hear the old thing about like, why doesn't anyone just shoot Batman? Because you need Batman, right? You need Batman to live into the next comic book. You need him to live for the next movie. He's the hero. So, they concoct these retarded ways to kill Batman that Batman can get out of because you don't actually want to kill him. But if in real life, Batman would have been dead 1,000 times over, no matter how much of a ninja he was, they just shot him in the back of the head.
When the clock strikes 11:30, the hand will drop down and behead you, Batman.
Yeah.
Why don't you just shoot him? Shut up.
Yeah, right. It's the same thing with James Bond.
Yeah,
we will take 20 minutes to lower you into boiling gold, or and hear me out, just shoot him. An Austin Powers bit, right? So that's what kind of made me Jack had nothing to lose. He knew he was going to kill himself, and he knew he wasn't going down for murder for any of these things because apparently the cops in Northern California, the Pacific Northwest, don't fucking investigate homicides anymore.
But he had enough of them.
Unser also had a gun, so I guess he knew that in order to do what he was planning on doing, he was going to have to kill him.
I think the point that I was getting across was when realistically, there was no other way for that to have happened but to shoot him because he's already, one of the great lines of season 7 is Jack's talking about his kids and him going, I don't want them to turn into me. I'm a criminal and a murderer. Those are the same thing, by the way. But still, I'm an outlaw, I'm a murderer, and I don't want them to turn into me, and I'm doing everything I can so that they can get away from all of this. But I think it's great. But it also lended itself to, at the very it's funny, Jax is what happens when you remove all social contracting from somebody. When there is, think about this, when there is nothing left to lose, it kind of reminds me of our gun control conversation from last episode. When you have nothing to lose, and you take away social contracting, and you already have a poor moral compass or no moral compass, what stops you from just executing people? What? Yeah. Nothing.
Right.
And that's where Jax was by the end of season 7. He was already morally compromised. He had nothing to lose, and he knew he was going to kill himself. It's amazing. Not to quote my dad, but why didn't he kill more people with a machine gun? He was very efficient in what he was doing. Is my point.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So kind of getting back to the stuff with Juice, or how effective like the murders were. Like by the time we get to that point, the only reason why any of it's effective is because of my relationship to the character. So like I feel bad for Unser, and so when he dies, I'm like, oh, I'm sad now. It's
legitimately. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
no, go ahead.
Legitimately, Unser is the only person I felt bad about.
Yeah, because when he shoots Gemma, I had no emotion.
Right, I
was like, good riddance. Thank God.
Well, I mean, by the time season 7 rolls around, she is just a screeching harpy anyway of a human being. And like, I mean, am I wrong? And I think I feel that way is because like I'm like, how they're boiling up and building up and building up. Okay, and as I referenced before, you got to have your red wedding, and that's exactly what Jax was doing. And they killed everybody in the red wedding, so he's got to kill everybody in his red wedding. And it's just
I don't know. The red wedding I think is very effective. I remember
absolutely,
as opposed to shooting Borowski behind the deli counter and just casually walking out, or masquerading as a homeless person momentarily long enough to kill marks on the steps of the courthouse or whatever it was.
Right.
Like, it was two different presentations. I remember hearing about the Red Wedding well before I actually saw it because I wasn't watching Game of Thrones contemporaneously. I caught up with it when I was going through cancer treatment. And I remember like, oh my God, the Red Wedding. Oh my God, the Red Wedding. And I finally watched the Red Wedding. I'm like, ugh. Oh, I don't think people did it justice.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
But I just reference that because it's one of the more famous scenes of just everybody just kicking the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it was just one of those things where like I'm with you. I recognize. I mean, like what's the word I'm looking for? Unsler and I like. Yeah, I feel that character, and that's why I was kind of like I felt bad for him because after all these years of helping and being in love, and that's all he did was, like you said, he helped and he was in love.
Compare that, Jesse, to when Snoop buys it in The Wire, where Snoop was there to kill Michael, but Michael had to jump on her, and she knows it. And she ain't going out like a sucker.
No.
And she's just like, oh, my hair.
Right.
And I think therein lies the difference. Like, Borowski, he just kind of, oh, handsome Jack. Oh, my God. Like, gets shot in the face.
We didn't mention last season, Borowski showing up, played by Peter Weller, RoboCop fame. Yeah, and I felt like his final appearance and him getting shot, obviously there was a score to settle, but it was so funny because he hadn't been on any of the episodes for quite a bit up until that very last, like, okay, here you go. You got 30 seconds. You're going to get shot in the head. Okay. All right. So he took the scene and he ended up getting killed.
It was like they had written 20 episodes and FX was like, you get 13, you psychos. And they were like, well, fuck. And they had this like truncating things and, and they're like, oh, we'll just shoot him. But I don't know.
He needs to die. Okay, we could do that.
We have to kill a lot of people in three episodes. Let's get to it.
Not to get off subject, but anybody ever hear that story about Peter Weller wanting Oreo cookies?
Oh, yeah.
Playing RoboCop?
Yeah, dude, have you watched it's the Robo Doc on Amazon? What a great story. Oreos. He could not stop referring to himself as fucking RoboCop. That's hilarious. Oh my God.
Robo won't do the scene until Robo gets Oreo.
Oh my God. It's like when I do the Mongo voice. Mongo want Oreo.
And one guy's like, fuck this guy. I'm not bringing him Oreos.
You talk like a normal human or you get no cookies.
It's a great story.
He took the cookies and crumbled them in front of him and then threw them off. He said, no Oreos for Robo.
Oh, so good.
Now do the scene. Oh.
Peter Weller. Anyway. So, yeah, stuff like that was going through my head. Every time I saw him on Sons of Anarchy, I was like, oh, man, is he really that whacked out? I've always heard good stories about him, but man, that'd have been something.
I bring up like various character deaths because it's all on how it's framed. So like the Unsler one was effective because again, you feel for the character personally, and and then he says something like, I don't know, this is all I've got versus how my hair.
Yeah.
I like Snoop's better.
Oh,
or fucking, Stringer. Get on with it, motherfucker, and they just light his ass up.
That's a cool one.
Yeah. So Unsler's, I feel sad for him when he dies.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You can't feel much else other than just that he's devoted his life to trying to help Gemma and now her son. I mean, he knew this was going to go down when he put the APB out on him. He knew he had to get Jax off the street if he could because something bad was going to happen. And he's the one that finds Gemma, and sure enough, Jax shows up, and it's a bullet.
In Jax's defense, he gave Unsler every opportunity to turn around and go home.
That's true. Yeah, he said, just go home. Go home. Right. Go home. But
again, like I was saying before, realistically, if it were any one of us, and we were in that situation, we were, and we led the life that Jax led, there's no way we don't shoot Unsler. After about the third time, like, get the fuck out. And Unser's like, no, I'm standing my ground. The hell you are. Bang. The August marks just
asking what he would have. What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I don't think Unser ever really legit pulled his sidearm on anybody.
Also, he's 100 and cancer ridden.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, that too.
He had his gun out, so it was actually in his hand, and I think that's why Jax knew. He's like, the only way I'm going to do this is if I kill him first, because he is going to kill me.
Yeah,
and in order to protect my mom, and that's not happening. So,
by the way, can we talk about how much of a bitch Gemma is?
Like I mean, season 1. I mean,
I'm thinking about something very specific because I want to set this up appropriately. So Unser is in love with Gemma, and Unser went there to save her, and she has decided, much like at Jackson's, like at this point, everyone's just like, we all have to die. Enough is enough. The world is so far off its kilter. The only way to write it is with self-sacrifice. That is how those characters have been written. That is how the show is written. And so she's there waiting for Jax to find her and kill her. And she accepts her fate. It's one of the only cool things about her death is that she just, I was actually starting to say this before. She goes outside and she smells the flowers one last time. And it's a direct reference to the scene before that where she's talking to her father who has dementia. And, and he talks about like, oh, you used to love playing in the garden, and so they make that connection for you. And you never,
that was good writing.
It was because Gemma, they always just like, oh, family babies, out in the fucking motorcycle guys. Oh, right. This is all we have here. So it was nice to see this very human moment where, I used to be somebody who enjoyed sniffing flowers. And so she does one last time. And, before she leaves his mortal coil, and then she stands still and she's like, kind of in her own Gemma way, says, get on with it, motherfucker. And he blows her, in the back of the head, shoots her head off, and she falls to the ground.
In the back of her head.
A blow dart. What the fuck? What's wrong with you, Jax? Let's try something new. So she's waiting there for Jax to find her, and Jax finally gets there, and it's right as Unser was about to call the police, but he didn't get a chance to. Jax caught him, and then he tries to bluff his way out of it. And again, I have to draw a circle around this. I almost lost my point. I really want to make sure I say this out loud. Unser is there to save her. Unser loves her. Unser is trying to get her to safety. All Unser wants is for her to love him back, and to his dying breath, she doesn't. So he's sitting there, and what he says to Jax is, oh, well, I've already called it in. What he's saying is, I love this woman, and I'm so desperately trying to get her out of here because my whole life is wrapped up in making sure this woman is safe. And she turns around and she fucks him.
Well,
she's like, she sounds like my mom. No, he didn't. Like that whiny, fucking awful, bitchy voice. No, he didn't.
Ugh.
And you just want to punch. You just want to donkey punch this woman.
I want to say something about Unser here because, it kind of in his defense. Yes, I'm saying in his defense. I know you're attacking.
I'm not attacking him. I don't know what you're defending him, counselor.
Let me try to clarify some things about Unser here. We are saying that he's there because he's in love with Gemma, which we know that's a fact. But if you remember right before he left, one of the club looked at him, maybe it was Nero, and was like, are you going to go save Gemma? And he's like, no, this ain't about saving Gemma anymore. This is about saving Jax. And he went to go, and I think a lot of this is wrapped up in like he loves this family. He also has a great affection for Jax as well.
Now, he was wildly delusional.
Well, he's delusional this whole damn series, man. He is in love with Gemma, who's not really going to give him much of the time of day because of Clay. And then even after Clay, there's a couple tender moments between the two. He confesses his love to her, and it doesn't mean she appreciates it, but it's not like there's anything that can be acted upon there. Anyway,
the equivalent of a pat on the head and saying that's nice.
yeah. Either way, though, Gemma, yes, Gemma is definitely a. She's not a good person for what she does. He didn't call it.
You guys haven't seen Challengers, but there's a scene in Challengers where like the one guy is like, "I love you," and Zendaya just like, "I know."
I've seen the trailer for that.
Yeah, it was one of those kind of things.
And then I didn't watch it because you told me there was no threesome.
There was no threesome. I was promised a threesome, and there was no threesome. Pissed me off.
Oh well.
I mean, we knew. Did we know? Can we just ask this question? Did we know this was how things were going to end by the end of season 6? Like Jax was definitely going to kill Gemma. Did you guys feel that?
That's a good question. No, but did I think she was going to die? Absolutely.
Okay. All right. How about you, Mark? End of season 6. Tara's laying bloody on the floor. Gemma has.
I don't think there was any other way to end the show but for Jax to kill Gemma.
I mean, I
didn't think it was going to be as dispassionate as it was, execution style. I thought it was going to be like in a fit of rage.
Like she did with Tara. You think Jax would like brutally beat his mom?
I don't know about beat her, but
I think that was the only way it could go down. It's just with her not.
Do you remember a couple of seasons back where Juice gets caught with a brick of coke?
Yep.
And in his defense, he just shoots the guy in the face like 10,000 times.
Yeah, he's laying on the ground trying to get a gun while the other guy's trying to get a gun. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, something along those lines where Jax just fucking lights her up with bullets in rage.
Okay, I got you.
Is more of I think. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw a couple of things going down. I thought Unsler maybe would like grow up here and blow her away, just over that, or something.
Could you imagine if Unsler was the one that did her in before Jax even got there?
Oh, geez. What a tweet!
Gemma, I love you. I only like you as a friend. Fuck this place. Boom.
Boom. Yeah. I mean, he's got nothing left to lose. He's Deadpool without the mutant powers right now. And he's not going to last. He's not long for the world. So he confesses he's loved. She's like, okay, that's nice. And, gives him a little face palm and walks away.
I think Unsler was like, come with me, which he did. They did do some of this, but she was such a woman about the whole thing. She's just like, Gemma, come with me. We got to go. Have you seen this picture of me as a child? That's not really my priority right now.
Someone's on their way to kill you. Oh, well, check this out.
I don't know. I think it would have been interesting had like those two had just like, if he had just lost his fucking mind and shot her.
I would have loved it.
And then Jax walks in and Unsler's standing over the dead body, and Jax just wordlessly shoots Unsler in the head.
Or just goes, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they have this sort of, archaic fucking barbarian motorcycle code, and clearly that's what they were acting out towards the end.
Yeah.
Was, she fucked up so badly. Because think about, like, let's go all the way back here. So she and Juice concoct this lie, and Jax goes on the warpath, destroys everything he put together at the end of what was it, season 6 at the end of it that he kills Pope and saves Tig?
Season 5, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, when he had, by the end of, I think, season 5, because I remember talking about this with you, by the end of season 5, he had gotten them out of guns. He had set everything up. We were like, oh my God, everyone's playing checkers and Jax is playing fucking chess. Mm-hmm. What a strategic genius he is. Completely undoes it in season 7. Just every single thing he set up, he destroyed. And he destroyed because his mother told him the Chinese killed Tara. And so he went to war with the Chinese and set everything else on fire. And then it was like, oh, as it turns out, that's a lie. And he's just, and again, sucker, jackass.
I mean, just the fallout from just this one lie.
Yeah.
Bobby ends up getting his eye cut out, get his fingers cut off, and then shot right in the head in front of Jax. Watching all of this crash down, Jax ends up shooting another club president. Oh my goodness, what was his name? I can't remember his name. Jury ends up shooting another club president, so he knows there's going to be a mayhem vote. All of this is because his mom did what she did and tried to cover it up and tell a lie that clearly just changed the course.
It was because she thought Tara made a deal, right? Like the whole premise of her killing Tara was false.
Exactly. Yeah. She walks in and
the show's been described as very like Shakespearean tragedy, and they couldn't be more correct. This is definitely a Shakespearean tragedy on motorcycles. All right. Is there anything else about before Jesse does show and tell? Is there any?
I don't
you don't have a show and tell this time? You
actually don't have anything.
I was sitting here like, okay, I gotta cut this conversation short so that you can do your half. I didn't realize you had nothing.
I mean, I got pulled something up. We can look at TV time like we usually do, but I figured since this being the last season and our season wrap up.
No, I'm good.
All right.
Ronnie, you missed one or two episodes here and there, but this was something that was kind of a passion for you. So I'm going to give you kind of the final word here. Anything else you want to talk about that we hadn't covered?
Not really. I went back and listened to ones that I had to miss. I didn't know that, did you?
Well done.
Yeah, shut up.
Homework.
Come down to Florida and knock you out.
You have to find me first. Now I'm moving. Haha.
I mean,
it's not too far. Just ask. Trust me. Ask ask from the streets there. The big guy moved down there. Oh, okay. All right.
The big guy. I'm the only one.
You talking about that? The loud guy with the weird accent? Yeah, he's down that way.
Yeah, the fat guy whose lawn's never mowed. That guy. Go ahead, Ronnie.
No. You all. I mean, we've covered pretty much everything, the ups and the downs, and I mean, there are more ups than there are downs in this series for me.
Mm-hmm.
But there are downs. Trust me on that. But I mean, we've pretty much, and you all pretty much covered everything that I could think of. And the reason that this was a kind of a passion for me was because, I mean, I saw it and honestly, it was a love it or hate it thing. Talking to people, and it's like I talked to a few people that were like with you in The Wire. I mean, it was the best thing since sliced bread. And they
I didn't realize that people have a real passion for this show, and I guess because of the soapy drama, I guess because of that tragic element, people are just so into it. Also, Charlie Hunnam's a handsome man, and these are sexy people.
Can I just throw something in here since we're talking about how handsome? Episode like the 12th episode, I'm pretty sure it was the end of the 12th episode, going into the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they just could not resist showing his ass one more time before we got out of this series.
That one cold open where everyone's fucking. I remember I walked away from my phone for a minute and I came back and I'm like, what is this?
Yep, I remember that.
I looked at the descriptions like "Love is in the air" and "Sons of Anarchy," and I'm like, "Oh, is it?"
Yes, really? Oh, not.
We took a time out from shooting everybody in Northern California to fuck today because we're only gonna be able to do it once before the show is over. There were two things I wanted to. Johnny, Ronnie, if you got nothing, then there are two things I wanted to address. Go ahead.
The main thing I wanted to see was like. We've done so many shows together, and there are three completely different personalities. Even though we still get along, we still like mostly. Well, I like nothing that you send me, Mark.
Okay.
Because you know what to send me to get me fired up. We've done. I say comic book wise. But we've done a lot of things. I just wanted your all's opinion on it too.
Okay.
I mean, if you hadn't seen it, because I wanted to see what side of the street you all landed on, and you all landed on the same side as me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see it as a really good show. Is it something I'm going to watch past this? Watching it a second time with you guys? Maybe. I don't know. If I get real bored, probably, but it's not one of those things like I've seen the one season of Firefly probably 20 times.
Yeah.
I've seen Parks and Rec seasons 2 up to the last one 4 times. It's just one of those shows that I can put on and watch and just leave it in the background and still quote. This is not one of those because you have to get emotionally invested in it, and I just don't have the energy for that.
Yeah.
To do that multiple times, but it's still a good show. But I don't think it is worship worthy like some people have put it, but it is really, really good.
So I want to talk about two things in the show, and then I'm going to throw it to Jesse to close us out. So Jesse, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I kept wondering who was going to spill the beans on who really killed Gemma. Then they showed the kid overhearing Gemma conveniently talking to a baby saying, I'm accidentally killed your mom, blah, blah, blah. And so the kid hears it, and the kid, being the smartest 4-year-old I've ever seen, self-harms and then blames it on grandma to take it out on her and everything. And then, Jax tells Abel about Wendy, and that's like your real mom, and I just want you to know that you're loved. And that was nice. I think letting a child know that despite all the chaos, you're loved and none of this is your fault is very important. Because kids living in toxic environments can, because children can be are by nature self-centered, and they tend to think that whatever is going wrong is their fault. There's something wrong with them. They caused it somehow, and so. It was a nice little bit of writing. We don't get to see Jax as a father because coming in and hugging a baby and then walking out again is not fathering. Right. Sitting there, having a moment with Abel to be like, I get it. Shit's crazy, but you're loved. People care about you and you'll want for nothing in this world. You'll always be protected. And the kid's like, great. Let's talk about how grandma killed mom. All right. and then, that sets Jax off on a mission to get the truth and all of that. I wanted to say, first of all, kid, did the best he could with, being his age with the material he was given. All the credit in the world to that little actor. Yeah. But it was a very nice scene with Jax. You guys want to talk about the kid and that whole reveal?
Yeah.
Reveal. I think.
Say it again.
Smart reveal.
Smart way of doing it.
Yeah, I thought so.
We had to
smart.
Yeah. Who else could have told Jax that Gemma killed Tara but the child?
Right.
And
it makes it even that more poignant that it's the one thing that Gemma is so intent on keeping safe and keeping together. She's always talking about my boys, which are Jax's boys, and she has this. It's unhealthy. It seems like, obviously, to a degree.
Yeah.
Let me fix that for you. It's unhealthy. Period.
Yeah. She loves her family, but she takes it to such extremes and takes it way further than it needs to. And to have it come from Abel, the one person that she sought to protect from all of this insanity, there's nothing that she can do at that point. I think that's what is most devastating when it comes to this story, is the fact that the one thing that she wants to protect is the one thing that becomes her undoing.
Yeah.
That's it. It is everything that she's done up to that. She's figured out some way of twisting things or manipulating things. She doesn't do that to those kids. And therefore the purest thing that the purest of heart reveals the dastardly deeds that poor Gemma has done.
All right. So the last thing I wanted to discuss before we closed out tonight is the finale. We talked about it that throughout the course of tonight's review. That Jax basically ties up all the loose ends. They vote to kill him essentially. He fucked up so badly and he did so many bad things with this club. They're like, I'm not president anymore, and I'm, the club has to take me out. But off screen, they organize it so that Jax can go out on his own terms. He doesn't have to be shot in the head.
There's a swerve. Well, I didn't see this happening. I thought they're actually setting it up so he could just escape and be because they love him so much. They want him to be safe and get out of there. That's right. But I didn't realize until much later that no, that was not the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they orchestrated so that it looks like he, shot Happy and ran off, or put Happy in harm's way and then ran off. He instigates the cops, and they all chase him down. And then Michael Chiklis, who played a trucker that talks to Gemma at some point, is on the road again.
Right,
and right about where Jax's father bought it, Jax takes his hands off the wheel, does Jesus Christ posed, and fucking rides right into the 18-wheeler, and dies. And then we flash to an actual crow.
I was going to say, this is a mirrored image of the story that Jury, I think, tells Jax before Jax kills him, that, your dad killed himself. And Jax, goes through a lot of stuff to end up doing the exact same thing that his dad did.
Yeah. I was asked by my friend Angel, like, what did I think of the finale? And I was like, I think that was the best way for Jax to go.
Went out on his own
terms.
He sent the boys off with Wendy to go with Nero to get out of Charming. He shot his mom in the head for all the dastardly shit she did. He doesn't have Tara anymore, and Tara was basically what he was living for. And then the only other thing left was to make sure that the club was on solid footing and had a future, which he set up. It was he was kind of Pete's Dragon in the end. Well, this boy in harm's way doesn't need me anymore, so so off to find a new boy. And that new boy happened to have 18 wheels. So
Papa's Goods, name of the episode and the name of the truck.
Yeah. So I don't think there was a better way for Jax to go out. I don't think getting killed by somebody or going to prison or anything like that would have been nearly as effective. When I think back to the final scenes of shows that I've loved, I'm thinking about like the end of the season finale, the series finale of Breaking Bad, or gosh, that's the series finale of The Wire will always bring me to tears. Game of Thrones, I didn't hate it like everyone else did, but I didn't quite have an emotional reaction either.
Could you actually see it? Oh, sorry. I never even watched it, but I just remember everybody saying, like, you can't.
It was one episode that was in the dark, god damn it.
Listen, I gave up the first time I watched Game of Thrones. I gave up after season 1, episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
When the kids saw the brother and the sister just going hog wild on each other in the tower. And then they pushed him off, and I said, pray tell, what depravity is this?
What have I got myself into?
And garters.
So I fell back on my fainting couch, clutching my pearls, and didn't watch it for another 2 years.
And then I think about Mackie and the sirens and him running out of the ice office. And I was talking to somebody about that today. Sons of Anarchy, and this will be the thing I want to get your opinion on, and we'll close out with this. I named a couple of different series endings, and I was, some have been more fulfilling, some have been more satisfying than others. I actually like the Sons of Anarchy finale more than I like The Shield. I don't remember Justified. It's been so long. But it's not as good as The Wire. But
nothing is as good as The Wire to you.
Yeah, that's a very subjective, point of view. But I would say, like, I've watched a lot of series finales in my time. I like Oz, for example. Oz left it up to interpretation. And the showrunners talked about that. Like when Oz ended, they were like, we're starting new storylines and we're kind of leaving it kind of open-ended because it's our way of saying life never stops in prison. It just keeps going. Maybe your story ends, but the story of the prison will go on. And so that's how we want to leave you with the show. Again, with The Shield, it was very vague as to what was going on with Mackie at the end.
Yeah.
From what I understand, The Sopranos ending is so bad it should be studied. You know,
Uh-oh.
they're just
No.
talking in the diner, and it like cuts to black, and like you have no idea
Fade
what
to
happened.
black.
This is what
Oh.
happens.
He's
Mhm.
he's got
I
a
have to take
theory.
up for it,
Okay.
because it's a brilliant ending.
Mm-hmm.
Because Tony makes reference to be sitting in a restaurant, and then the next thing lights out
Mm-hmm.
in the series. So what's he do at the end of the series? He sits down with his family. They're finally happy, or they seem to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's listening to a song on the little jukebox on the table, and they come in and they start ordering food, and he watches this guy walk in who eyes him, go to the bathroom, and then he blinks, and then it's lights out. He got
Gotcha.
killed.
He got
They
deaded.
murdered him.
Okay, but that's also left to the audience's interpretation. It sounds like.
No, it was pretty much they told him that's what happened.
Okay, my point being, you know exactly what happened to Jack. There's no like, you know, oh, and so they brought him back in the next season, and it turns out it was just a slight scratch from from being run over by a truck. No,
I mean,
he
that's
fucking
right.
bought it.
You know,
He died on his father's motorcycle being, you know, run over by an 18-wheeler. It's fine. To me that makes this one of the better of this kind of show, one of the better series finales. I really, really liked it. I didn't think there was a better way for Jax to go out. So for everyone which is like, what did you think of that ending? I loved it. I loved that Jax kind of took care of business and went out like a man. That was the other thing. It was a very masculine ending. It was, I done fucked up. I will pay for my sins. I will sacrifice myself. I will destroy myself for the good of everybody else. It was, you know, in a lot of ways.
I'll give 18-wheeler.
Well, and not to aggravate Ronnie or anybody else, but I thought it was a very, like, in terms of like Christian mythology, you know, martyrdom, I think that was a very powerful ending they wrote for Jack. Weirdly, they did it with a, you know, a murder and motorcycle guy, but you know, you can sort of superimpose sacrifice and martyrdom on any character you choose, I suppose.
Yeah, martyrdom goes beyond Christianity as well. It's just sacrificing yourself for something that you believe in.
Well, I mean,
Suicide,
not to be all preachy or whatever, but what is it that they, you know, they say it's Christ sacrificed himself for, you know, for the betterment of humanity, right? Jack sacrificed himself for the betterment of his club. That's that's the only parallel I'm drawing.
I see where you're going with that. I mean, I could preach a sermon on how you're wrong.
Please don't.
But, so in Philippians 4, no,
oh my God. Anyway.
It's going to happen one day, Mark. You're going to hear me.
No, I did not sign up for your religious TED talk. Jesse, so there it is. Now that I've made everybody uncomfortable, what did you think of the ending?
Yeah, I mean, I think this was where we were.
Hang, aren't you like also Churchy McGee? Why did what I just say bother you so much?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
I mean, I was just sitting there thinking, like, well, suicide doesn't exactly fold into the whole religious.
It's true.
It's kind of tough to kind of support that being part of martyrdom. Yes, I can understand what you're saying, but he killed himself by his own hand.
Okay,
and
I don't want to debate this with you, but I feel like we're okay. No, you know what? I'm not even gonna finish that sentence. Keep going.
Okay, all right. But yeah, his death, the ending of this show stayed with me the next day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is one of those things.
Probably because it was so religious. I'm such a dick. Keep going.
Like, didn't he have a cross that he was bearing on the way to the truck, if I remember correctly?
Dude, he let Jesus Christ pose into the truck.
He did too. But yeah, it was one of those things that where I followed this character. I looked it up yesterday or a couple days ago. We finished this series. First episode I watched was January 5th, 2024. And me and the wife were kind of trying to figure out how many months did we watch this. And I had to go back and take a look at exactly when I checked into TV time. January 5th, 2024. So I've been watching this character, this Jax Teller, try to, I mean, he was trying to right all these wrongs. He wanted to take this club out of the muck and the mire that it was in and get it out of there. And he just could not do it, no matter what. And what it ended up doing,
Yeah,
is it killed
one
his
might even
wife.
say he died for the sins of the club.
Any other? Could grab your Bible real quick and just kind of go through that. Pull out something. Ronnie, you got a Bible there, I'm sure. We can.
Ronnie's about ready to,
ready.
Ronnie's about ready to hit me with his Bible.
say a prayer for Mark, and then we will. But no, this is he lost his wife. He lost his best friend. He lost other great friends to these machinations that were put into place that he was trying to get out of. And then finally at the end, the only thing left for him to do was to die. I got a couple other comments here, but I do want to hit on the main thing that I think that this series was about. And this is kind of what
family. I'm fucking walking off the show.
Get walking. It is about family. It really is. It is. But not only that, I think the more finer point when you boil down to it, it's really hit with a home run on that last. Yes, family. It's fathers and sons.
Yeah.
It's fathers and their kids. This is Jack's trying to honor his father's idea of what this motorcycle club would be. And then throughout this whole series, as he's trying to do that, he's also trying to get right with his own kids. He understands that they need to be out of this. And at the very end, what does he do? He realizes there's no way out of this. And in order for me to save my kids, I have to be out of the picture. Go ahead, Ronnie Adams.
Let me play devil's advocate real quick.
Okay.
You've compared him to a Christ-like figure, Mark, and talking about him being a martyr. Well, I mean, like and it's not preaching or anything, so don't worry. You're not going to melt or anything.
You'll just hear about it later, Ronnie. Don't worry.
Oh, I know. I've already got it muted. But the thing about martyrdom, the difference between martyrdom and what he did is martyrdom, you present yourself as a sacrifice. Just like the Bible said, Christ presented himself as a living sacrifice. So you don't actually go into it and go, I'm here to die, stab, forgive the sins of the world. If you really want to look at it hard, Jax was a coward. He went out as a coward because he didn't present himself. He didn't go down in a hail of gunfire. He didn't say, I'm going out like a man. He said, I'm going to take myself out so I don't have to face the consequences of what I did in the life and the rest of my life.
No, I could see where you're coming from. I mean, I understand what you're saying because, I mean, when it comes to one of the biggest things you hear about people who take that route and leave this earth is a lot of people will say that it was the cowardly way of doing it. And we understand mental health wise.
Selfish is the word that gets thrown out. I just wanted to throw that in there. When people talk about suicide, they talk about they say it's a selfish act.
Right.
TV show character. I'm not referencing anyone that has ever had these thoughts or has done this thing. I understand. I've been through mental health issues myself, just like everyone else has, I'm sure. But I would never throw that out so willy-nilly about somebody that was real.
Sure.
What I'm saying is this character knew that he was going to spend either the rest of his life in prison or take a needle in the arm or have to face the consequences of what he did and grow up and watch his sons grow up from behind bars and have to tell him, well, daddy did this. So he just decided not to do any of that.
I mean, when you take a step back and you look at the mental health of Jax in this season,
the mental health of everybody in this show.
I mean, this clearly you can understand that somebody's suffering from the weight of all the actions that have taken place, and then they just snap and they start taking people out. But the thing is that it's well thought out. That's what kind of gets you. You're like, okay,
that makes him somewhat of a sociopath, but
right. I mean, this might be the only way that he felt that he could try to make things right, and that is by taking himself out.
Okay. I'm gonna throw this out there.
Believe that about the character. I was playing devil's advocate.
No, I got you. I got you, Ronnie.
No, that's why I'm not coming after you necessarily, but I'm gonna just throw this out there to round out this discussion, and then we can move on if everyone's ready. It's not that I hear your point of view. I see what you're saying. Let's not forget a critical element of this show's inner mythology, and that is, the bylaws of this motorcycle club, which are well established. The very first season, they have a guy who they have to burn his tattoo off of him, the Sons of Anarchy tattoo, whatever the reasons are. They have very specific traditions and bylaws and things, and one of those things was if there's a vote to die, you have to die. I think there's something to be said for I agree to die. I agree to live out this code, but on my own terms. And I don't know if I'm given the choice of taking a gunshot to the dome or taking one last ride on my motorcycle and going out in a blaze of glory. I'm going to take the latter, not the former. You threw out the word cowardly. I don't think it's cowardly to take destiny into your own hands. He was dead no matter what he did. Okay, it's not like, if you want to throw the word coward out there, I think Juice acted cowardly.
Wait, now, I mean, he straight up just let Marilyn Manson do a lot of things to him.
Well before that, Juice was cowardly. Gotcha. When Juice was trying to steal the brick of cocaine, and then Eli was threatening to expose the fact that he was half black and all of that, and he was like, "Welp, I don't know what to do." Like, you want to throw the word cowardly out there for taking yourself out. Juice was cowardly. Juice is a lot of Juice's whole thing about he's there. He'll save Gemma from Eli and all of that, but then goes on the run. Instead of facing it like a man, just telling Jax what the fuck happened. Letting half of American China fucking get gunned down by this motorcycle club in order to cover for Gemma seems cowardly to me.
Oh, I never said he wasn't.
Okay, well, I'm saying those to me are acts of a coward.
Yeah.
We say you're going to die. How do you want to go? And you choose death by motorcycle as opposed to death by gunshot. I have a hard time personally thinking that that's cowardly. I don't think he had. I think cowardly would have been if he had tried to get out of it in time, like if he had actually escaped and went on the run.
Jesse played the on trial music. So no,
hang on.
Welcome to On Trial, where we debate the merits of your favorite movies. Hope you're ready, Hollywood, because you're on trial.
Oh, it's good. That's good.
Man, that little shuffle you did, Starcher.
I'm getting down, buddy.
I wish everybody could have seen that.
All right. So apparently we're having a debate. Go ahead.
Oh no,
we're debating the movie. We're debating the merits of your favorite television show.
No, I was just saying. I was just kidding.
Don't do that, please. Don't play the music ever again. Oh, there you go, Zach.
Nice.
Zach's my homeboy.
I like it.
Well, no, I mean, I never, like I said, I never said that that Juice wasn't a coward. I mean, obviously, he did some very cowardly things. But if you want to, you could say, not saying that I want to, playing devil's advocate, that Jax was a coward too in a different way and on a different level. Because, I mean, he could have been arrested just as easily and served out the rest of his time in jail. They don't have the death penalty in California.
Again, by the culture, mythology, and bylaws of this motorcycle club, they voted him to die.
Oh, yeah, I know that. But the man can stab a knife through an engine block. He could survive prison.
He did do that.
I do. Now I feel like we're going to start going in circles. All right.
We've already been going in circles with this.
Well, no, I think it was an interesting conversation. I think we've kind of hit. I think we've hit an impasse where I don't think there's anything more left to say about this.
Okay,
all right,
then
so
let me.
go ahead.
Oh, do you have something?
No.
I got
Go.
a few more notes. Number one, this podcast right here could have went a whole different way if Nero would have died. I was really worried all the way up, probably to the final episode, that they were going to manufacture some way for Nero to die. Nero, it was my Jimmy Smith's absolute favorite character of this whole series. I love.
Do you wish you were a Bizlat now?
Oh man, just to be hanging around him, I'd love to have been.
Just his next podcast, he's going to be wearing like a flannel shirt just buttoned all the way to the top.
That's right.
Viva la Starcher!
All right, Mark. Tell me just real quick, 50 words or less. Yeah, I put it on you now. What do you think of that? Tig and Venus, that final scene.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yes.
Because I was thinking about it, like I never, because I don't ever like write these things out. We just kind of shoot the shit. But that was in the back of my mind, and I'm like, do we go back and now talk about Tig and Venus if we've already touched on the last part of the show? Apparently we do. This is Starcher rules now.
It was so good. It was good though. It was such a good scene.
I love the fact that they took kind of a I don't want to be disparaging to the community, but fuck it, goofy character like Venus, because I feel like
I was worried he was going to say she-male again, but go ahead.
That was you hater.
Oh no, that was you. I remember.
you enemy of the LGBTQI community.
I learned my lesson.
I have nothing to do with this. Don't hate me all.
Send all hate mail to sgarmer@gmail.com. God, we haven't done that one in a while. Anyway, they started, Venus, obviously very well played by Walton Goggins, but also kind of in the beginning, it was just sort of another goofy character in this show, another oddball, very colorful character. And then they were like, well, we have Walton Goggins, who's awesome. Let's keep using this character. And then by the end of it, that whole interaction that Tig and Venus have, where she's not wearing any cover up and her 5 o'clock shadow is showing, and it's a stark reminder that Tig is in fact dealing with somebody who was born biologically a male, and this is a very heteronormative culture within this motorcycle club. And so he's conflicted. And what a fabulous job this actor does of playing with that conflict.
Talking about Kim Coates?
Yeah. He does a masterful job of, I know what I feel, and I feel love for this person, but everything about my upbringing, my culture, everything about this says that it's wrong. But how can something be wrong that feels so right and makes me be at peace? Love in whatever form it is could not bring you such pain and conflict, but it does for him. Because Venus is a trans person. And I just thought those scenes with the two of them were magic. Some of the best stuff of this season by far, in my opinion.
That episode aired December 9th, 2014, so a little less than 10 years ago. And I thought it was very, very forward of them to take 10 years ago and put this in a show about motorcycle clubs. I mean, Tig is, Tig throughout this whole series, he's just kind of weird. He's a bit depraved. They always pick on him about doing, and he's, he owns up to it. There's no shame in Tig's game. All right. None. But them to have this tender moment between each other, I thought, again, there were moments throughout the season where they were just, wow, this is a really good scene.
Well, it's interesting because like when Tig notices her 5 o'clock shadow, he's like internally like having a meltdown about it.
He's having a bit of conflict. Right.
Yeah. And then he's like, all right, I gotta go. And when she realizes that even though in every fiber of her being she feels like she's a woman, she still can present as a man in certain aspects, and it shatters her self-image. Venus sees herself as a woman 100%. I was born a woman in a man's body, and I had to do corrections in order to get right with myself. And then, just frustratingly, her body is not cooperating the way she needs it to, and it freaked Tig out. And for her, it brings up every insecurity that she has about being a trans person,
right,
to the point where she's like, I don't want to be with you anymore, Tig. I don't want you to suffer on behalf of me. I don't want to be a monster in your life. I'm a beautiful woman, and I don't want you to perceive me as something that I'm not. So just go. And Tig's like, I would be unhappy if I did that.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think it's an interesting thing, because, acting on how you feel and living on how you feel are not the same thing. And I think that conversation that Tig has with her, where he's like, I'm proud of you. I want to be seen with you. Like, okay, give the fucking guy 5 minutes. Let him get there. Mm-hmm. And that made my heart feel good. Yeah. Sorry, that was more than 50 words.
No, well, you know what? We do it to you all the time. I think, but no, I think that's right. I agree with you 100%. Masterful scene. Both of them played it well. Very, very emotional. Loved it. One more thing, and I'm not doing an impression of Columbo.
Like I was gonna say, what's what she says? You're gonna get me with that again.
Popculture.com. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah. Hit it.
All right. Sons of Anarchy, 10 strangest celebrity cameos. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Ronnie, you want to name something?
Why don't you put this on screen?
You can't see any pictures. There's no pictures.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why, but for some reason it is not showing pictures. Yeah. Ronnie, can you name like one of your favorite like cameos out of the series? And if you can't, that's fine.
Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson. Okay. Yeah.
He's so fat in the show.
He is.
Like, I'm used to Marilyn Manson being
75. Leave him alone.
He wasn't 75 when the show was on.
He was 65.
God, I'm used to Marilyn Manson being like the size of my son. Like, he's like paper thin.
Scarecrow.
Right. And then like you see him in that first prison scene. It was like, why is your face so fat? Why do you look like Ray Liotta?
There is
dumpy.
That was one of the 5 moments of this series where I was like, I know who that is. There's no way. No,
are you a character in a Brian Michael Bendis comic? My God, why do you look like a pile of mashed potatoes?
What?
Tune in for Volume 2, just released today, as a matter of fact, of our discussion on Alias. Okay, all right, here we go. I'm running them down. Kim Dickens, the madam of the...
She's more than a cameo.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was sitting here thinking. That's first one on the list, but she definitely is there. Kim Dickens.
Yo, drizzle some shit on that.
Next up, Marilyn Manson. We've already said that.
Yep.
I don't know this actress. Apparently, a Glee actress by the name of Lee Michelle.
Is she a hooker? Because she was also on The Deuce.
Taking a break from her lead role on Glee at the time, Michelle made a 1-episode appearance on the FX series as Gertie, a waitress at a truck stop. So that was that had to have been recently then. Okay.
Yeah.
One of my favorites right here, Ashley Tisdale. We talked about her showing up as one of I think she was what was the name of the episode? It was like something like Huffy or something. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. Anyway, somebody gets their bike stolen. She's running around. Joel McHale shows up in this series.
That's one of my favorite. Yeah,
he ends up sleeping with Gemma and then takes all her shit.
How did I forget Joel McHale?
Joel McHale. Walton Goggins, we already talked about, way more than a cameo. Donald Logue, we already talked about, not a cameo for sure. Taryn Manning. So before she was Orange and is the New Black's Pennsatucky. Manning reoccurred on seasons 1 and 3 as of Sons as Cherry.
Yeah, remember she used a fucking skateboard to the face.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yep.
The Hoff himself, David Hasselhoff. Playing Dodo, a retired porn star. Okay, all right. Michael Chiklis, we talked about him already because he showed up in this season. And that's it. They did not, for some reason, list Stephen King, who showed up in, I want to say it was season 2 or season 3, because I thought for sure he would be on there, where he's the one that helped Gemma dispose of the body. He was like the cleaner. But anyway, so there you go. There are the top celebrity cameos according to popculture.com.
Well, guys, it's been fun. I'm glad we did this. I'm glad I'm able to, for people who are so passionate about this show, I'm glad I'm able to say, with authority, I watched it, I liked it, and I definitely enjoyed talking about it over these past 8 months with you guys. Ronnie, any last words?
No, other than it's a really good show, and let's do it again. Not this show, but let's do another show again.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because there's TV Party and then there's TV Party. There's Alexis who does the sludge. She does the Acolyte and, she House of the Dragon. That's what she's got coming up next. She does all the Star Wars and Marvel and whatever, cartoons and shit that she enjoys. She does that. Ronnie, when he figures his life out, he occasionally does some of the sludge. He does Tulsa King and Fallout and whatever he's passionate about this week.
Tulsa King is not sludge. It is art.
Isn't that coming out? Isn't that another season of that coming out?
I hope. I've been waiting on it.
Okay. But here, me and Jesse, we like to go back and look at some of these older shows and examine them. And, Robert, did Jesse freeze again? No.
I'm currently reading a lot more cameos that I did not list, but continue, please.
So a little ways back, I kind of threw it out to people like, hey, what do you guys want to talk about? And one of the things that came up was Robert Winfrey really wanted to do Ash versus the Evil Dead. And then I cut every single thing I was doing so that I could date. And then Robert being Robert about everything was just like, oh, we don't have to do this anymore. I'm like, no, I promise you we would do this. No, it's too late now. There's no more internet. All right, Rob. So whether or not he shows up for the review is immaterial to me. For the next 3 months, we will be talking Ash versus the Evil Dead. What do you think about that, Jesse?
That's going to be scary. I can't wait. It's going to be fun. I'm excited.
Good.
Did you need me to continue to talk about how excited I am?
I somehow logged out of my calendar. I don't know how that happened.
Uh-oh.
You closed the tome?
Yeah, and now out come all the ghosts.
Ronnie, I forgot one very important cameo.
Who's this?
Charisma Carpenter.
Oh, gosh.
Oh my, it's unbelievably hot. She plays like the check-in lady at Gemma's dad's nursing home, and I'm like, I look over at my wife, I'm like, why do I know who this is? And she immediately was like, Buffy. I'm like, I know who you're talking about. Charisma Carpenter. Oh my god.
All right, so we got Ash versus Evil Dead, September 16th. That's season 1. Season 2 we will be doing on Tuesday, October 15th. Why aren't we doing it on? Oh, because I may or may not be home on Monday. That's why. And then November 11th, Veterans Day, we will be doing Ash versus Evil Dead season 3, and then we are closing up the year with Vinyl. Jesse, have you ever seen Vinyl?
No, I have not. What is it about?
Vinyl was an HBO show. It lasted 1 season, and it was about music in like the late 70s, I think. It's about this like A&R guy, this record company, and he's like just looking for something to kind of inspire him. He's trying to like create a movement within music. I liked Vinyl. But then again, I'm a huge music person, and I was thinking like I don't want to start a new series of television in December and have it continue through the year. I kind of want to end the year with one season of television and start up again. Because 2 years ago, Andrew Graham was like, I'm calling the West Wing for 2025. And that's like a million seasons.
Yeah, buddy. Boy, have I heard some good things about the West Wing, though.
So, long story short, too late. I wanted to close up the year with, since we had 3 seasons of Ash versus Evil Dead, and I had, I needed 1 season of television. I figured, all right, I'm going to make Jesse watch Final because we're both huge music fans. What do you think about that, Jesse?
I'm excited. I would love to learn more about the 70s music scene.
So then starting in January, we'll do all 87 seasons of The West Wing.
87 seasons.
That's going to be a tough watch because I believe those are like 22 episode seasons. That's like traditional television.
Jeez.
Give me the date of that again. What was it going to be? 2025?
Why are you planning a vacation?
Yeah. Every episode. It's crazy. I don't know how I pulled it off.
We start The West Wing season 1 January 13th.
Okay. All right. What a way to ring in the new president.
President Kamala Harris.
Oh boy. Ronnie's head just fell off. What the hell?
Ronnie just said, fuck your couch. There are 154 episodes, Jesse.
Okay.
7 seasons.
Ronnie has now turned into the avatar of a young lady. All right. And now he's back.
My God, season 1, 22 episodes. Season 2, 22 episodes.
Hour
Season 3,
long.
Bugs Bunny.
West Wing started in what, 1998?
I don't make that go away when I go off camera.
2000. It started in 2000.
2000. Okay.
And I know how much you like politics, so this is gonna be really fun.
Oh, I can't wait to discuss them in detail. Vascular detail.
It's going to be you.
You did the thing.
Vascular detail. It's going to be you two and Andrew Graham on West Wing, right?
Yeah.
2025, all I'm doing is your bits. I'm just getting in practice right now.
Perfect. That's amazing. All right. That's what we're doing as far as television goes. At least what I'm doing. I'm actually going to start doing a little bit of this sort of thing with Alexis too. We got The Offer coming up, which is from a couple of years ago, but I desperately wanted to talk about it. Nobody did at the time, and then I convinced her to do it. Yeah, this is how you speak Italian, as my kids say.
You can't refuse.
I'm currently speaking Italian.
Oh, not even saying a word, but he is speaking it.
Yes, if I do this, I'm speaking Italian.
Got it. Sure.
Anyway, but she and I discussed doing The Bear. So I don't know, Jesse. Not only am I doing Peak TV with you, but now I'm starting to do a little bit of Peak TV with good old Alexis.
Well, best of luck to you, sir. I've only got time for one. You've got yourself a schedule now, don't you? Where's the other TV? All right, then.
That's why I'm still only doing 2 days a week. But all right. So that's that. This Thursday, speaking of Alexis, good old Alexis, she will be hosting a review of House of the Dragon, season 2. I will be over on Movies That Don't Suck and Some That Do. We will be talking the new M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong, Trap, and the Amy Winehouse biopic, Back to Black. Next week, we're back to our usual scheduled programming. We've got a Damn You Hollywood for Borderlands, and then we have a triple feature featuring Evan Bevins, Good to His Mother, Some Language, and Shay Tate, all the language she likes. And we'll be looking at 3 comic book adaptations: Tank Girl, Mystery Men, and The Rocketeer. So that'll be fun. Ronnie Adams of the Screaming Boy Podcast. Show us where you pissed from.
Don't do it, Ronnie.
No, I won't.
Okay, good.
Hey, I actually have a stream. It's called Misfits and Miscreants. We do a weekly stream of Dungeons and Dragons. We actually missed 2 weeks, and I need to show that we recorded a session to show while I was gone, and Twitch effed me on it. So we're going to show it the next couple of nights. So it'll be tomorrow night that I show that one. It's a short one, but and we're picking it back up this coming Sunday. I'm running everybody through Lost Mine of Phandelver, which is like the introductory, but one of the best adventures I've ever read in D&D. And then we're going to go levels 1 to 5 through that, and then we're going to move on to another one. We're going to do the Lost Years I'm going to write some stuff from 5 to 10, but we'll go 1 to 5, and then we'll go pick it up at 10, level 10 characters, and continue on with Vecna, Eve of Ruin.
Oh my goodness!
You know what Jonas is into playing right now? Baldur's Gate.
Baldur's Gate is a wonderful game. It's very D&D adjacent.
Yeah, that's why he started playing it. He's playing a bard currently.
Nice. Tell him not to seduce anything.
A gnome bard. He's a gnome.
Hey, he
I don't know
is
why he
Stanley
picked a gnome. That's
Stanley Shortholt from Vox Machina.
That's right.
But yeah, we're having a lot of fun with it. I've got some fantastic players. I've actually picked up 2 new players. We had to unfortunately part ways with one player. I've got 2 new players. One coming in this week, and then another one that's been missing will be returning very soon. So all in all, I'll have 6 players at the table, and it's going to be fantastic. For you, those of you who care, it is a very girl-dominated game as well. I have 4 ladies playing and 2 gentlemen. So it's been they've been kicking butt. But yeah, along with that, we're also be going to picking up some streams. I've got some streams that I'm scheduling for games other than D&D on off nights that I'm playing with people online, such as Call of Cthulhu, Deadlands, which is a Savage Worlds game where it's the Wild West, but it is the weird Wild West. And then we're going to be.
Does it have giant mechanical spiders?
I said weird, not sucky.
Wild West.
Yeah, very good, Jesse.
Yeah, that was terrible, man. I hated that movie. But yeah, we're going to be playing some other stuff, maybe some Old Gods of Appalachia, maybe some Walking Dead universe. There's a lot of cool games out there that we can play. I'm also going to be going to, and I know it's far off, but I'm going to shill it now, Mythicon in November. Mythicon is in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I will be GMing 3 or 4 games there. I'll be doing some Call of Cthulhu, Candela Obscura, and 2 others I don't remember. Or one I haven't picked yet, and then Alien. I'll be doing the Alien RPG there as well. So if you're in the area, or you feel inclined to travel to Charlotte for a really good gaming con called Mythicon, come say hi. Misfits and Miscreants will be there. And that's what I got going on.
All right, take me home, Jesse.
I was just at Galaxy Con in Raleigh. I was just at Galaxy Con, and I met Matthew Lillard, who is genuinely one of the sweetest human beings I've ever met in my life. And I met Deborah Ann Wall, who is genuinely one of the most beautiful people I've ever met in my life, and very sweet. And it was a lot of fun. I've got a lot of pictures on Instagram of a lot of different cosplay and stuff. And I got pulled up on stage to play Fandom Feud against a bunch of wrestlers, and we won. And I watched a kid and Deadpool pin Toxic Avenger for the Toxic Crusader title, and the kid got to go out on stage got to walk out to the ring with Deadpool for Fantasy Super Cosplay Wrestling that night.
That's awesome.
And hold the belt for him. And sit at the commentator's table the entire match. It was really cool. The kid was just smiling, just grinning ear to ear.
Oh yeah.
So it was a lot of fun. If you're ever in that area, Raleigh GalaxyCon. GalaxyCon's all over the country now. Go to one. They're so much fun.
All right, Jesse, take me home, baby doll.
Oh, one more thing. I'm kidding.
Ronnie Adams, you crazy son of a gun.
You rascal.
One more thing.
You rascal.
One more thing.
One more thing. Hey, Unspoken Issues aired last Monday, where we discussed the first 6 issues of The Protectors. You may not know about The Protectors. You may not. Ronnie's over there shaking his head.
Or you may not want to know about The Protectors.
No, now listen. The Protectors, a Malibu property written, I think these were written by R.A. Jones. And you talk about some, we had an interesting discussion. We'll just put it that way. One of the guys that was on the podcast actually listened to the episode, said it was one of his favorites. And nice. I think a lot of that is the fact that, I gave them a what got cut at the end, and which translated into about half an hour of them bullshitting about Golden Age comics, which, hey, it deserves its time. And then he said, "Oh my gosh, I just got to the end and heard the song that you created about the comic." That's right, I created the song. It's called "The Protectors," believe it or not. And you can listen to it at the end. At the end of the episode, you can check out the power rock anthem, "The Protectors." That's right. And then, of course, Mark Radulich may not know this, but I also created a song for Jessica Jones' Alias. That's right. There is a ballad of Jessica Jones that's not showing up until the 4th episode, so you got to wait. But until then, you can listen to the 2nd episode of me and Mark talking of the 2nd volume of Alias. And that's Brian Michael Bendis, Michael Gaydos. And this episode, what was the second part of that story, Mark? I can't remember now. All of a sudden,
there was the one where she goes to find the kid who they say is a mutant, and then
welcome home, Jessica, or welcome home, not Jessica, but
then there's the other bit where she's dating Scott Lang, and they watch Spider-Man and the Human Torch go chase after Dr. Ock, and they just continue their date.
Okay, welcome home, Rebecca.
I listened to the episode, so.
Oh well, you made it further than I did. But yeah, you can check that out. That just aired today. I had internet problems most of the day, which got me out of work, but also got me out of overtime, which kind of made me mad. But I got the internet back up because the important thing had to happen tonight, and that was discussing this show with you guys. Myself and Evan Bevins are discussing Marvel Snap. That's right, Marvel Snap, the mobile game Marvel Snap. It's happening this coming Thursday, I think, at some point. We're going to, maybe it was Wednesday, but we're going to be talking about the upcoming season, the season that just passed, Maximum Effort with Deadpool and all his crew, Gwenpool? Maybe not Gwenpool. Gwenpool showed up in there. It was a lot of fun. So we're going to have a good time discussing that. And at some point, I still got to get the episode up on the YouTube channel. Mark's son took me to the woodshed and whooped me a good one in Marvel Snap. Yeah, in Marvel Snap. And it's you can check out the TikTok too. Follow Mark's TikTok there. It's posted there where I got a little pissed at one point on a very stupid.
Baku, you idiot!
Baku, what are you doing? Stay in the deck. What an ass.
So I thought of you, and I meant to take a picture, but I didn't get to, Jesse. At GalaxyCon, they had a Marvel Snap tournament.
Oh, did they really? That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a fun game. Real easy to pick up and play. So if you're interested in checking that out.
And then get beat by a child.
Listen, it can happen. It can happen. It can happen. It honestly comes down to M'Baku screwing me over the whole game, the whole series.
My son said that was his master plan, and that's what I'm believing.
Oh, I had so many words. So many words.
I've never wanted to curse out a child.
I had to take a few moments to compose myself. I even went to the next game and about made the stupidest mistake on the first minute because I was so aggravated. But anyway, all right, that's all I have, really. There's nothing else.
Jesse takes his snap seriously.
Hey, go ahead and check out. So, what started out as wrestling as a Radulich and Broadcasting Network, the album has basically become a, watch me and Jesse rewrite all of our themes.
We need an intro for this one. And we need an intro for this one.
Yeah. But no, we're doing sessions. It's a new podcast. It's going to be around well past, us finishing this album because I want to keep doing this. So we've got some ideas lined up. For right now, we are 2 episodes into sessions, Radulich and Broadcasting Network, the album. We did an actual sessions theme. Then we did More Dinosaurs, which was inspired by a gag from Long Road to Ruin. And then last night, because I needed a new theme, we wrote an intro song and an intro. Sorry, we wrote an intro song and just a regular song for On Trial, which you got to hear part of earlier when Ronnie made a sarcastic comment. In about a month or 2, we'll be back.
Sorry,
again.
I forgot that's your shtick.
Yeah, thank you. Put muscle into my territory. about a month or two, we'll come back for Sessions track 3, and we'll work out something for Damn You Hollywood, which I already started working on that today.
I was going to say I saw lyrics, and then Bailey's pitching in with something that, my gosh, we should actually work that in there with what he came up with.
I don't think we should.
Oh, okay. All right, then.
Leave that on the cutting room
Hooray
floor
for Disney Plus. I love it.
Yeah, hooray for Disney. Let them write it. You guys can do your own Sessions podcast and write that song. Hooray for Disney. All right. Hooray for Ronnie Adams. And hooray for Jesse. And I'm just Mark. Be well, be safe, and behave.